This video centers around the idea that it's really difficult to practice the correct way and the correct things if you're not practicing at all because you've quit. What should you learn on guitar and in what order? Well, it's not what they say. Hello and welcome to another video with me, Elmo. It's good to have you along. Yes, I'm an ex-pro guitar player and I've taught music and guitar for ages and I've had thousands of students. And one very popular form of video that I come across is what you should learn on guitar and in what order, and it's a very detailed order most often, and these videos are extremely popular. And I think lots of these videos are absolutely wrong. They might be a good fit for someone, but maybe not for most people, because I happen to think that a one-size-fits-all answer is just wrong. There are a couple things you can say should be a part of whatever you're learning on the instrument. Number one is fun. If it's not fun, then why are you doing it in the first place? Now, granted, some things will not be fun. Not everything about this is fun. So you need to learn some things that maybe aren't that fun. But if the majority of what you're doing is boring, then maybe you're doing something wrong. Maybe you need to examine what you should learn. Are you learning what you want to learn? Because I'm assuming that you have some kind of goal as a guitar player. If you just want to play a few chords around a campfire, that's fine. Then you learn a few chords, you know what to do. The other thing is, are you progressing? If you're not progressing, there's something wrong. But the thing that I think is absolutely key is that you have a goal and you follow that path to the goal. I talked about this previously, a couple of weeks ago, when I did the video on the Justin Guitar thing, where he said that he'd been teaching people wrong and he'd been practicing wrong for ages. Now, Justin Guitar is one of the big voices on YouTube when it comes to teaching guitar. And I lift my hat to him that he came out and said that he'd been wrong. We all make mistakes. That's fine. Now, I got a comment to that video, which I think kind of sums this whole thing up. So I'll read that comment to you and then I'll discuss it. I first need to find said comment. I think Justin Guitar was only partially correct and, to be honest, mostly wrong. I think something between the two extremes is the optimum way to learn. The Lego bricks should be arranged more like a pyramid, so that you build higher and higher with a strong base of foundations. Otherwise you will reach a ceiling and the base foundations will eventually crumble, and you will not be able to improve anymore. If you reach that point, it's too late and there is no going back. If the foundations are strong, you will keep learning with no ceiling. The only reason I wanted to say this is not to bash Justin Guitar, it's mainly because some of the people watching his video and yours will get the wrong idea. For example, I've followed some interesting YouTube channels where the guitarists have documented their journey for several years starting from scratch. In some cases they have specialized from day one, concentrating 100% on, for example, playing Metallica songs. After a few years they become expert at playing Metallica songs and they sound very impressive and almost like a clone of James Hetfield. Much more so than someone else who had followed a more traditional guitar learning approach. But does that mean they are a good guitarist? How much do they really know? Do they know the main chord shapes and scales, and would they be able to jam along and improvise to other songs? Possibly they can, but I wouldn't be surprised if they can't. In fact, I would almost say for certain that they wouldn't be able to. I think what Justin really means is that it's better to concentrate on the basics for several years till you reach at least intermediate level or higher and then specialize in one style. At least I hope that is what he means. That is totally different to what I described about the YouTube channels I've seen. I think it needs to be made clear that it takes years to learn just the basics. It's not just about learning what you're good at and what you enjoy. For the first few years it is all about learning a lot of boring things that you don't like, including a lot of things that you're not good at. Personally, I think Steve Vai is just talking nonsense and taking the piss. He probably watched Justin Guitar's video and laughed out loud. Well, having seen the interview that Steve Vai did with Justin and having seen him in other places talking about the same thing, I know for a fact that he's not taking the piss. The thing about this is, several years of boring stuff. Now, he mentioned a channel or a YouTuber learning Metallica. Now, that's not how a guitar player would learn his or her instrument. Because if you have just one band or one guitarist that's your goal, then because a part of any learning journey is discovering new things, and part of that is discovering other guitar players. So let's say, for instance, well, we can take me as an example. I almost quit after 1 year because it was boring. I wasn't learning what I wanted to learn. By the second year, I swapped teachers at the end of the second year, and my new teacher asked me, "What do you want to play?" Which for me was, wow, what's going on here? And I said, I want to learn Gary Moore. So he taught me bends and vibrato. I already knew the basic chords, that kind of stuff. But I also listened to other guitar players. And I discovered a bunch of guitar players and other music along the years while I was learning Gary Moore, then Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai. I learned all sorts of stuff. I got into the blues, and I got into even a bit of country. What I was playing at the beginning there, that's actually something that I learned way later. And I don't think it's impossible to learn stuff like this and then go back and learn something else. I don't think there is no ceiling to learning. That's the thing with this whole discussion is, what do I need to learn to become good on guitar? And then we think about it often in terms of, when I've learned this, then I'm done, I'm finished, I've learned what I've learned. That's absolutely wrong. We never finish learning. So what you should do is have a goal. Find out, what does this guitar player do? You can go in reverse order or in order of difficulty, whichever way you want. And don't worry about missing stuff, because you will fill them in later on. Don't worry too much about what the journey is, how you get there, just as long as you have some bricks to start practicing. It's called a meta-learning map, if you want to know. I think of it as a ladder. And you will automatically start filling in the spaces. And not everyone has to learn theory. You need some theory, varying degrees, and you can always come back to it later. You might want to play Stevie Ray Vaughan style stuff. And then you noticed he has this song. And you discover that later on, and you notice it's nice, it's very good. And you wonder, what are those chords? And then you find out. Maybe you learn about how you build your own chords, what all the different symbols and things mean, what is a Jesus for? Jesus will be back. No, let's not go there. What's the difference between a minor and a major, and why on God's green earth do they play a minor and a major in a blues progression? All those kinds of things, there's so much to learn. It's absolutely pointless to lay out a detailed roadmap that then people think they have to follow, and if they steer clear of that, they will fail. That's absolutely not how it works. Part of the journey is that when you learn new stuff, you revise your meta-learning map or your ladder. And you keep going, and you keep going, and you're never finished. And at least I used to think in terms of, probably because school was boring, and that kind of taught me that learning is boring. We fall into this trap, many of us. And I realized it later on that learning is actually fun. Why would you want to stop learning? I've heard this from ex-students. They come back when they go to high school from middle school, and I ask, how's high school? And they say, it's really nice. Now we get to finally do things. Well, they're still learning.
Or I just want to graduate so I can go get a job and start doing. Well, guess what? If you just start doing and don't learn, you will regress. Keep learning. What I would put more emphasis on is how you do it instead of what you do. Of course, I think they should be connected to each other in some shape or form. And of course, I think some things you have to learn, even though they are boring. So I'm not advocating only learn Metallica, because I don't think almost anyone learns that way. Some people do, and they end up being really boring musicians. I think you should have diverse musical tastes, be open to new ideas, and lay out a kind of map, what should I learn, and then you learn it, and just enjoy the journey. And if you have a great teacher who tells you what to learn next, great. Not everyone has that. I had a teacher whose main goal, and I actually think this was his genius, that was the new teacher who asked me, what do you want to play? He had the idea to get rid of me as quickly as possible. He wanted to give me all the tools that I needed so that I could learn on my own. These days, all of those tools are available online. So you can learn them even though you don't have a great teacher. It will be more difficult. But there's nothing wrong with difficult. If you want to be spoon-fed this, you have to learn, then you have to learn this, and then you have to learn this, so that you don't put any effort into what you should learn, then I kind of feel sorry for you, because you're not really taking ownership of your own learning. And if you want to become good, you probably need to do that. You need to be interested in what you should learn, and so on. And it will work its way out somehow. And you will hit obstacles, you will be frustrated, that's part of the journey. But don't worry too much about what you should learn in what order. Yeah, find out a bit, and then you learn, and then you find out some more, because it's not like, oh, I've played guitar today, now I'll just stop and not do anything. You'll be listening to music, you might talk to your friends, someone might suggest a band, you might be into Iron Maiden, and someone suggests you listen to Journey. So you discover Neil Sean, and you listen to his solo stuff, and you discover Caruso, and from there you go into opera. And you learn all sorts of things. As long as you learn them the proper way, with focus, measure progress, you have these goals, and so on, then I think you'll be good. At least you'll be better off than if you sit around and watch videos. You have to learn this and that in this order, and think that you'll fail if you don't learn this and that in this order, and it's boring, and you quit. So if you want to know how to practice, I have a video here. Other than that, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe. Above all, I hope you have a nice day, and yeah, this was beginner video number 21. Take care. Goodbye.